Hey, what's up? This is Chosen. Hope you are having a great day, and buckle up, go get something to drink, sit down for a little bit because we have got a lot to talk about in today's video to keep you caught up on what's going on in Raid Shadow Legends. We've got a new Fragment Champion. We've got a guaranteed champion. That guaranteed summon is part of rumors that ended up being true that we kind of predicted in the community, and here on the channel I let you know about it. That is going to be happening. We'll let you know if that's going to be worth summoning or not. We've got a 10x event. We've got a champion training tournament with Ultimate Death Knight in it that we got to cover. There is so much going on, different faction tournaments, and all sorts of craziness happening right now as we head into the weekend, and I will get you full context on all of it, so let's get into it. Alrighty, now first of all, out the gate here for the summoning events this weekend, it is going to be a 10x weekend. Obviously, it goes 2x, 10x, 2x. We just had a 2x last weekend. That means we are due for a 10x. That's perfectly normal. And it is going to be a Sylvan Watchers 10x. So typically here on the channel, I tell you that 10x's are a little bit of a bait. And unless you are an end game high spender who's in more the collection phase of your account, that you normally want to stick with 2x's instead of 10x. But this one could be an exception for some of you, although we are going to be really run dry on shards because we just had the bonus legendary shard event that I actually uploaded a video on earlier this morning where I show that show me getting King Galkabar here from the bonus legendary event. But in the 10x, it is going to be Aileel, which is the void legendary here for Sylvan, and then Elva, King Galkabar, Green Warden, Ruark, Cormac, the High Peak, Mistrider, Diethy, and Ruella. So all of these champions are in the Sylvan Watchers. Now, a lot of times here on the channel, I talk about a concept of using 10x's or 10x events as an opportunity to go epic chasing. Like when there's a 10x for Maneater and you don't have one on your account yet, great. You should probably pull during that 10x because you're able to pull epics a lot easier than legendaries, obviously. And when there's a massively boosted chance to get those champions, that makes it a good opportunity to really chase epics if you're trying to round out things for faction wars or certain epics you need on your account like Seer and Maneater that unlock certain composition options. So given the champions that we have in this 10x for a new faction, I would say that I probably wouldn't pull Void Shards. Aileel isn't being thought of as one of the elite Void legendaries. He's most... there's a little bit of a variance in people ranking him, but he ends up being kind of in the upper middle tier. And while we're on the subject, I can go ahead and pull up our most recent Void Legendary tier list, and you can see that Aileel is over here. You know, if the middle line is somewhere in this tier around like Venus and Blind Seer and Raglan, Aileel, since he is a new addition to the game and has some interesting mechanics, he does kind of go up the board a little bit in desirability on the Void tier list, but he's not up in like the top tier or anything, which is where I would recommend pulling shards if there was like a 10x for them or something. Because obviously, if there was a 10x for like a Krygia or something, I would be like, okay, yeah, we probably need to get after it and pull some Void Shards and wish upon a star on getting them. But for Aileel, I don't think it's quite there to justify it. So I think this could end up being a situation where players are gonna feel a little bit upset because they finally do a 10x event that really appeals to a large percentage of the player base, but they do it right after they have really bled the player base dry of shards, which is a little bit unfortunate, and I feel your pain out there. You know, for end game players, it's probably worth trying to make it happen to pull a few shards, but for you early and mid game players, admittedly, it's going to be very tough to do so, even though it is kind of a cool 10x that would be fun to pull some shards on. So I wish they would have done this at a little bit of a lull in the game where people had an opportunity to have some shards available, because like I don't even have any ancient shards because I only got 9 right now because I went and YOLO'd a bunch for the bonus legendary event that you saw the video on this morning. So now, like, do I spend, you know, I'm lucky enough to have been playing for years, so I've got some resources saved up, but even I may throw a couple thousand gems at yanking some shards for trying to round out these Sylvan Watchers. Now, One thing to know in terms of the faction crypt and when it is going to launch, it is going to be a while. The Shadowkin faction war, I believe, came out like 9 months after the faction was introduced to the game, and the Sylvan Watchers, Plarium has confirmed it will be at least 6 months. I believe that was their wording, was at least 6 months. So we're probably not going to see the Sylvan Watchers faction crypt added to the Faction Wars map until like the summer of 2023. Which means I wouldn't feel a bunch of pressure to like, oh my gosh, I gotta hurry up and assemble a team this weekend. Like, you've got a long time, but this may be the only opportunity we get for like a blanket sweep 10x to help round out a faction team for that. But wait, there's more. There is gonna be a guaranteed summoning event for Staltus going on at the same time this weekend for 150 Ancients. Now, I'm actually working on a super fancy infographic and way to track these guaranteed events, and I'm going to be unveiling that today or tomorrow so that we can try to have some discussion around these guaranteed events, when they're going to occur, and try to kind of go based off of what Plarium has been doing. So I will get that information to you soon. But we did do a video here on the channel talking about a rumor around like data miners and different leakers talking about how we could get a guaranteed summon event for Staltus. Now, I had people in the comment section ask me if I was clickbaiting or if this was like actually real, and what I was telling people was, I'm about 75% sure that we'll get a guaranteed summon event for Staltus, and it did end up coming true. So it is going to be 150 ancient shards. So Plarium is really, I don't know if they're trying to get like the end of the year revenue boosted before the year turns over to 2023, because they are really slamming the events and trying to bleed as many shards and resources out of people as possible. But just grading in a vacuum, like, is Staltus worth 150 shards? I'll do my best to kind of talk about him as a champion really quick. And right out the gate, in terms of aesthetically, Staltus kind of reminds me of like the Dracomorph aesthetic. Like, doesn't the helm look like Dracomorph? Like, if we back out and we go to Lizardman and we pull up Draco, doesn't that kind of look like Draco with those like teal scales and kind of the same type of skull? So really kind of cool. There might be something there lore wise. Yeah, it looks exactly like Draco in my opinion. But kind of cool, and how they had different champions intertwining in different factions and stuff. But Staltus, you know, I've tried to do a little bit of polling and getting some feedback on how the community feels about him as a champion. I've talked to other content creators as well. Some people really like him. Some people are underwhelmed. It just kind of depends who you ask. So kind of like all the champions in the game. In terms of my opinion, he's got a multi-hitter A1. He's very sturdy. He scales with defense. He's got pretty good base defense. Can hit decently hard, has decent multipliers. Can decrease turn meter here on a multi-hitter A1, which is nice. He's got a multi-hitter AoE, which is really cool. Not many champions have that. And we're also going to get a natural stun that can be booked up to a 65% chance. So very good versus waves. And then also going to be placing increased defense on himself for 3 turns. 3-turn buffs are always nice, while also getting an AoE attack again on the A3. We're also going to be booking up to a 100% chance of placing decreased crit damage for 2 turns on enemies that are high damage dealers with high attack, or placing decreased speed for 2 turns if they are a more tanky type of enemy. So the A3 is really cool, how it can manipulate and get value based on the opponent it is going up against. And then a passive of whenever an enemy attempts to place a weaken, defense down, or a poison on this champion, it's going to reflect it back to them. And then damage is going to increase for 5% for each debuff on the target, with ally defense of 30 in all battles. So, like, he's cool. I don't know, like, for like super end game, you know, platinum arena, god tier accounts, I don't know that he brings a whole lot, but for like anybody who like basically hasn't finished Faction Wars yet, I could see him being pretty cool, and he could definitely help with clearing some of those Doom Tower stages that are tougher. You just run them over and over until you get good RNG with some of these stuns, and then you'll be able to blast through them with somebody who's really sturdy and able to CC like Staltus. So then, to wrap this up in terms of the shard events, what am I going to do? I'm probably going to pull 150 Ancients. I probably wouldn't. It's less about the guarantee for Staltus, and it's more about the 10x chance to get like Elva from the new faction and a bunch of those epics to kind of prepare, because it could be my best opportunity to get a buffed up chance to get those champions. Now, unfortunate that we're not going to be double dipping. There isn't a 2x going on or anything like that. So remember, your odds aren't going to be great. But I may throw 150 shards out there, collect my Staltus, and then hope I get a champion or two from Sylvan Watchers to go with the champion that I already have that I summoned during the bonus legendary event. Someone to pair with my King Galkabar. Hopefully get an epic or two, and then collect my Staltus and kind of call it a day. That's my personal plan. But the plan that's best for you is going to greatly vary based on the stage of your account, how much resources you have left over after all of this craziness, and all that. So definitely let me know down below. I'm always interested to read through what your plans are out there based on the stage of the game that you're at. But then we've also got a bunch of stuff going on in game with all these tournaments and events happening, and a crazy champion training tournament around Ultimate Death Knight. Now, the way this is going to work is the winner of your group is going to get a copy of Ultimate Death Knight, either if you don't have him yet, like if you missed out on the promo, or if you want another duplicate of him to help empower your Death Knight. Now, usually for these events, people are in groups of 100. This one is no different. They are groups of 100, and you are going to have to win your group to get a copy of Ultimate Death Knight. What is the global leaderboard? Okay, the global leaderboard is not really a thing, and it looks like the global leaders are going to be somewhere around like 20 to 40K. Okay, and then I got someone in my group already over 10K. So, like, this is going to depend wildly on the stage you're at and kind of your group RNG. Do you have somebody that's already over 20K? You're going to have, like, you know, it's going to be interesting to track. I'm going to want to know what the average expenditure of champion training points is going to be to get Ultimate Death Knight. I'm going to guess it's somewhere around, like, 50 to 75K. So you have to ask yourself, do you want to get 50 to 75K worth of worth of champion training points to win a copy of Ultimate Death Knight? I'm going to say for most of you, it's probably not worth it. It's especially not worth it for an empowerment level if you already have a UDK. If you don't have a UDK, I mean, he's a cool champion. He fills a cool niche. But unless you're a high spender, it's probably worth just skipping, especially with all the craziness we have going on with a fusion coming up here for the holidays, with a fusion that we're going to cover here in just a second, talking about a fusion they're launching in game for an epic champion. So yeah, this is going to be a wild one. I'll do some polling in the community to see how people feel, and I'll keep you up to date here on the channel so we can get a grasp of how many people are going to take this seriously. But like in my group, it looks like I've already got like 5 to 10 people that are going to be taking this seriously. So I would have to really commit a ton of resources to get after it, and I'm probably not going to do so personally. But I understand if some of you out there use UDK a lot or don't have him yet, and you want to allocate a bunch of resources to getting him. I don't think it's going to be like a blanket sweep recommend from me, though. And if all that wasn't enough, like I said, we've got a lot to talk about in this video. We are going to be getting a Fragment event. Let me make sure it's Fragment. So, Fragment event next Thursday, the 24th. So, a week from now, a Fragment event for an epic defense champion right here in Oscar Rule. Now, okay, so this is exactly what I told you to expect because they did this last year. They do a fusion for Halloween, and then they know they have a fusion coming up for the Christmas, winter, holiday season. And what they did last year was they squeezed an epic, like a quick epic event in there for Vildrax in between the Thanksgiving one and the holiday season one. And that's exactly what they're doing this year. They're going with the same model. They're squeezing in an epic in between the Thanksgiving and Christmas fusion. So after this, the next one will probably be, we'll start getting some teasers and announcements for the holiday season fusion. So I have not read any of this yet. I'm going to react to it live with you here on the video. One enemy, place a stun. We can book it up to a 40% chance. That's not bad for an epic to get some CC of a stun on the A1. We get an AoE. We can book it to 3 turns. Oh, okay. So another stun with buff chance of 25. 75% AoE stun. And then decrease the turn meter of enemies under a stun by 15%. That's pretty solid for an epic and having an AoE stun. Remove all stun debuffs from all allies. Then place increase defense and increase resistance on all allies for 2 turns. That's a 4-turn cooldown. Immune to stun and increases the damage inflicted by all allies. Oh, okay, that's kind of cool. That's a cool passive. Increasing damage that allies inflict by 15% to an enemy under a stun. And then defense and faction crypt. So yeah, this guy's clearly designed to be a great option for faction wars. He's amazing in any sort of a wave scenario. He's gonna be god tier for he's gonna be like a must build for anybody that hasn't finished the barbarians faction wars yet. So definitely a progression wave dominator type of champion, and will be really good in that context. Now, barbarians are probably one of the I would say most people unanimously regard them as one of the top 3 easiest faction wars factions. So I would say it's one of the first ones that people usually finish. So I wouldn't say a crucial addition to the game. There's probably other factions that could have used a champion like this, so keep that in mind. But I do think he's worth having on your account. Since he is an epic, hopefully the events are structured a little bit easier than what we're used to seeing in the legendary events. But yeah, for anybody that hasn't finished faction wars yet, anybody that's a new type of player, should definitely be going after this. For end game players, he's not going to be some account changer, but we're here to collect stuff and participate in events. So if it makes sense, I'm still going to go for making sure I get him. Then for the other stuff going on in game, we do have the Dragon tournament ending in about a day and a half, and you'll see I did a video on this yesterday talking about at least make sure up here in the top right to get your 250 coins and your ancient shard. So I did that. I can probably cut this loose, but we do have a boosted chance for speed gear right now. So I slammed about 1,500 energy, and we can see if it ended up being worth it here, and kind of see if the speed rates end up making sense. Fat rip. So I got 2. So or I kept 2 anyway. So didn't let me move myself. Doesn't even have speed, and okay, so I got absolutely nothing in the Dragon tournament so far. So okay, yeah, it is a good opportunity to run some stuff during the speed drop fever, but once you get the ancient shard and the coins, don't feel bad about letting that one go if you're not in a winnable tournament group. Then also the next special tournament is going to be for the Ice Golem, and it's going to be Undead. I'll get a video out here on the channel talking about my strategy for the Undead Ice Golem, and then we'll talk about some of the rewards that are in there and if it's worth doing it, like we did with the Dragon tournament, where I was advising you to scoop up your ancient shard and your coins, and then possibly think about letting it go. Then as far as the events currently happening in game, obviously the Revenant's Path, and let me pull up some polling on this. There we go. And on the channel, wanted to do a poll to get your opinions on the Revenant's Path event. And we have positive, neutral, and negative coming in with 2% of you having a positive takeaway of the Revenant's Path. So probably not the best event that Plarium has put out and structured, with 75% of people having a negative opinion of the event. And I think it ends up being just kind of the state of Plarium releasing it right after they kind of hyped up a bonus legendary event. So people weren't got kind of hoodwinked a little bit and weren't happy about having an event come out like 12 hours after they YOLO'd a bunch of shards for a bonus legendary, and the rewards being a little bit underwhelming. There's no void shards or sacred shards or anything in here. So a compilation of a bunch of those different factors make the Revenant's Path end up not being a home run type of event or anything. But as far as the path that I'm going to take for slamming whatever coins I get into this, I'm going to take the 3 up on the top to get the kind of cheap gems and the different coins here. Then I'm going to scoop down this 3rd lane and try to get the right here, the Immortal Soulstone is my ultimate goal. So I'll get that and then work my way down to hopefully the Chaos Ore and the Legendary Book is kind of the route that I'm going to go. And then tomorrow we have got an artifact enhancement event starting soon, so keep your eye on that. But holy moly, there is a lot to go over. We are also going to be coming up on the last week of the Doom Tower, so make sure and get in there and start doing those secret rooms. You don't want to end up in a situation where there's 2 days left and you've got all of the secret rooms to do, and then you got to slam all those keys into a Doom Tower boss. So start kind of slowly focusing on that as well. And we'll be getting a CDC on Tuesday here in a few days. So start preparing for a clan versus clan match, who you're going to book, and start planning accordingly and all of that. So wow, lots to cover. We're going to have to get some polls out on the channel to keep an eye on how the community is feeling about some of this stuff. And let me know down below your thoughts on all the craziness going on. Plarium making some sort of crazy push to really get resources out of players as we head into the end of the year, and how you feel about that, what you're going to be participating in, what you aren't going to be participating in, and always enjoy hearing down below your thoughts as well. So that'll do it for me on this one. As always, remember to subscribe on your way out if you enjoy daily Raid Shadow Legends content. I'll see you soon in the next video. Thanks for watching. Peace.